What's going on, everybody? I know it's been a while, but today we are going to talk about what expectations you should have going into your internship, whether it's this summer or it's just a general internship that might be happening soon for you. So if you're worried about your upcoming landscape architecture or design internship, then be sure to know that you really have nothing to be nervous about, and this experience you're about to have is actually a lot more familiar than you might think. So without further ado, let's talk about it. So some credentials, of course. I've been working as a landscape architect for about 3 years now already. And I've had 2 experiences with being an intern during my undergrad as a landscape architect. So I definitely feel like you will encounter some of these things just because of how I experienced them twice in most cases. So I think it will be pretty accurate. And for those of you wondering, yes, my internship did lead to a full-time position. So it's definitely possible in this field. And I think it's more likely than in other fields that you will actually get offered a job or stay with your internship later on. But that first thing we kind of touched on a little bit is that your experience and feeling during the internship will be very, very similar to what you encounter during school and during your studio time. And this is because most offices and firms have basically the same structure as a studio. So you're going to be working most likely with a small group of people. It might be 2 or 3 people that you work directly with under a larger group, or you might work with a larger group that operates as more of a larger group that might be 8 to 10 people. But either way, you're going to be working with other people, and you're going to be working in an environment that kind of is very reminiscent of the studio time. So this is definitely going to feel like your group project or your group studio projects where you're working with people to achieve a various goal or various tasks. Now, it might not be the same in terms of design intervention. You might not be doing all of the design or the end results, as it will likely be controlled by some of your seniors and what the bigger design ideas are. But the actual structure and foundation of it is going to feel very much the same as your studio time. So basically, just don't expect to be walking into a scenario where you're going to be put by yourself or be given tasks to have to do individually. You might have to do some, but most often you'll find that these tasks that are done individually are very reminiscent to what you do in school. Research, reaching out to other people or things like that. Very familiar things that you would do normally. So on that note, you might actually be able to experience some really fun solo projects. These projects can be really great if your internship does provide the opportunity, and they're usually some sort of study or research assignment that you do on the side while you're helping during your projects in your downtime. They can be a lot of fun, and they can provide lots of free ways to kind of bounce ideas off of each other and come up with maybe some fun little case studies that you might want to pursue either down the road as a professional or during your later years as a student. Now, another thing you will probably experience is deadlines. Now, deadlines is something that is a little different in the workplace, but it's really not all that different from school. You have some sort of deadline, benchmark, or checkpoint that you need to meet, whether it's a meeting or some sort of documentation that needs to get recorded. You will get to experience this firsthand, very likely you will, as an intern. And while you will experience this is a really great opportunity as an intern because you likely will not have the same kind of responsibility or role in actually achieving it. You're gonna help make it be achievable, but you're gonna get to see kind of the behind the scenes and how it all operates from a very low stakes point of view, which is the best way to be introduced to the whole deadline orientation thing. So yes, there will probably be some stressful times if you're operating around deadlines, but in your case, you really get to see how other people operate during them and how to navigate these scenarios at the lowest possible stakes ever, which is just fantastic to have under your belt when you then take it to a professional office and work full time. Because unfortunately, this is a very real part and it doesn't go away, and basically what you've been kind of practicing during school and having these deadlines and presentations is going to be happening a lot more often in the real world. Now, on the flip side of being exposed to reality, you're going to have some incredible opportunities to learn a ton about construction details, vendors, suppliers, various different resources. All of those things are going to become even more apparent and even more relevant as you start to work professionally, and you're going to get to really see that as an intern. Because these subjects in particular play an enormous role in the end product, and you're going to spend an incredible amount of time, more time on these things than you would ever think you would spend on some of these projects. So being exposed to them now, seeing how people contact others, how you get, feedback, pricing, how these things are built, how they connect to other things, all of those things are really great. And you start to see them as an intern, which is really great to then bring back to your own studies or use during your own professional work. So you might get exposed to these directly on hand or not, but either way, you should be a sponge, ask tons of questions, and just see how much information you can gain, because they really do help you make better informed decisions during your designs later on. And on that same trend of real world scenarios, you can expect to be taken on and see some really awesome projects. I would be absolutely shocked if you didn't have some time spent on site looking at either finished products or current designs that are under construction. I think this is an incredibly exciting part of an internship and is something that you really will learn a lot about if you are a sponge and get to go on these trips with people. Because when you go on these type of trips with someone who really knows their stuff, you can just sit there and ask, basic questions, and you can just get walked through, and you will learn so much about, the reality of things. And I did this here now because this, or we chose to do this because it solved that. And this, we fixed this in the field. We didn't fix this in the field. This is how this issue came up. There's countless examples of this, and being able to be exposed to that as an intern and seeing how that process works helps you work backwards in the beginning and makes you an overall better designer too. So I think you might be catching on to the theme here, which is exposure. That is what your internship is all about. So yes, you really will be experienced to a ton of new things, a ton of new people, new ideas, new designs, new connections. The list goes on and on. The exposure is never ending during your internship and even during your first couple years as a professional. So my advice to you, and any advice I would ever have to someone starting out, is just be a sponge. Ask as many questions as possible. There is no bad question, and nobody cares or thinks that you are annoying or something like that you are asking so many questions. People love to generally help other people out, especially their junior staff. So ask as many questions. It makes you seem very interested and very interested in what the work is all about. So just ask questions, be a sponge, and hear everything. And I would say this advice goes even farther than just asking questions. Be really prevalent while you're there. Listen to the conversations people are having. What are the conversations like? How do people navigate through different scenarios with clients? Or how do they operate meetings? How do they present their work? Is it different than how we present our work during studios? Because I'll tell you what, it is. So pay attention. All of those things really help you down the road and help make you a better designer, so that when you go back to school, you can do it better. And when you go on to work professionally, you've already had some of these experiences. So when you're thrown into the wolves a bit during your entry level or later on down the road, you know some ways of how people deal with this, so it gives you a place to start from. And I always have this outlook, but it applies even more for internships, and that is that it can be as much of an experience or as little as an experience as you want. It's really what you make of it, and as I said, this will apply to everything in your life, so take it full force, embrace it, and really enjoy it, because there will never be an opportunity as low stakes as an internship is in terms of your role. So just enjoy it and soak up all the experience, because it's definitely more to you than just putting it on a resume and saying, hey, I worked here, you should hire me because I have more experience than someone without one. So trust me on this, you're gonna do great, and it's gonna be a lot of fun if you just enjoy it. So I hope this video gave you a little bit more of an insight on what to expect during your internship. I know it's really hard to gauge what you're going to be doing because it's just really hard to explain to an intern what they're going to be doing and also what to expect. I think it's something that is hard to explain, and until you've done it, you really don't understand what the office is kind of like. So hopefully this gives you a better picture and helps you to understand kind of the larger picture of what the internship is all about, rather than, hey, you're hired to do an internship so that you can help us do this, this, and this, because that's what it often, is pitched like. But in reality, this is what you should be taking away from this experience. And as always, if you have any questions, drop a comment below. If you want to reach out to me personally, feel free to email me or DM me over on my Instagram. And I am always more than happy to answer your questions and help you out in any way that I can. So thank you all for listening. If you liked the video, as always, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. But that's all for me today. So take care, be safe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.